Hey, we're live.
We made it on time, right on the dot of 10 o'clock. So it might take a while for some people to come and join, so we're just, we won't start straight away launching into our proposed theme today, which is gear.
It might be like probably 5 or 10 minutes before we get into things.
It usually takes a while for the algorithm to kind of pick up that a live stream's going, and so the first 5 to 10 minutes usually take a little bit of time. But I'm sure you all know that.
So if you're watching this post-recorded, just scrub forward until you see us start actually holding stuff up.
And if you do start to join us, just, I guess, put us, stay tuned, but you can mute us, I guess, for a few minutes, whatever you want to do. But we will get going in the next 5 minutes or so on the actual theme, and we'll just get going here. A few reminders, this is obviously live for those that are going to join in, so we do this to interact with you. So drop us a line. This is our way of communicating with you. Mostly because the crew that we create, the crew vlog that you guys watch every Sunday, is a few months behind, usually 2 to 3 months behind. Because what we do, we go out, we film all the actual production that we're making, and then we have to prioritize that edit. And so often what happens is the crew edit gets, well, that's how it started. It started as I guess a jet lag of a few weeks behind. So that means when you watch our edits, they are not, hello Hodgepodge, thanks for joining us.
Hey, how you doing?
So when you join us, when you see our episodes on Sunday, they're not real time, they're a few months behind. So the live gives us an opportunity to update you of where we are in real life.
Yeah, so we're gonna...
Hello, David Stevens.
We're gonna wait for some people to accumulate here.
So hang in there, guys. As we were saying, we're just letting kind of Facebook or YouTube do its thing and kind of catch on that there's a live feed. Give you some time for you guys to join in. Oh, phone's on silent. Give you guys, a bit of time to join in, and then we'll get going on the gear. Is Eric sick? Are you sick?
No, I'm fine. Why, do I sound sick?
Obviously. I mean...
No, I'm good. I don't get sick. I mean, most viruses and bacteria don't
Here we go.
don't affect me purely out of respect. So I seldom get sick. I'm actually trying to find a picture to post on my Facebook so that I can announce that we're here. We announce it ahead of time, but we also like to announce it right as it is happening.
Considering it's going live. So as I was saying, stick with us, guys. We're just going to wait for a few more people to join before we launch into gear. We're going to be talking today about some of the stuff that we take out there. We've had a few requests from people asking camera gear. We talked about that last week, so you can actually see that video, and filming tips. But also, we don't just film. We go out into the environment where we need to survive. So we've got, we think it's just ordinary clothes, but when you actually step back and look at it, there's some reasons we take certain things, some certain fabrics, reasons we choose some things over other things, and so it ends up becoming technical gear. So we're going to walk through what we take and a few other specialty items, so that those of you who are gearheads and want to get a little bit of advice or a technique or just want to see what we do, then you can check out what we're doing, maybe get some ideas. And if you've never adventured before, we hope that this will inspire you to get out there and not freak you out. It's pretty simple to get out there with gear, but you do need to have a few tips in mind as to, because you can take the wrong stuff out there and have a bad day.
Yeah. I think that we actually have a lot of gear to go over, and I think some will be rather interesting what we take. Exploring with
Project. It's got $1 there. I'm going to have to investigate what this is.
But we're going to go over
welcome.
quite a few things as soon as we get a few people going. And I'm not sure if you said this, but if we start going through gear, you're going to miss it live. So we're going to wait for a few other people to join in, and we're going to post out that we're going live here onto our Facebook. But I'm struggling to find a photo that's good to do that.
Oh, well, I just get something out there going, I reckon. Whatever you've got nearby. Do you want me to see if I've got anything?
Yeah, you always got a real bad photo of me somewhere.
Alright. Well, you talk to them, to our beautiful fan face, while I go look for a photograph for you.
Yeah, maybe I should start with like one thing. Start with talking through some of the gear. Well, I could talk about the gear in general actually before you show each individual piece. When we utilize gear out in these regions, we try to have some anticipation of where we're going. I mean, we usually know if it's going to be snowing. We usually know if it's going to be, raining all the time or a humid jungle, coastline, etc. And I've tried to yeah, that'd be a good one.
All right. You'll have to go over to his Facebook page or the One Eye Open Facebook page to see
I try to modify the gear a little bit for what we're doing, but what I find is I tend to take almost the same exact thing to every environment unless it's really like incredibly
one extreme
cold.
Or the other.
If it's incredibly cold, then I'll take a big giant puffy jacket that you've probably seen pictures of me in, big yellow jacket. But other than that, everything pretty much stays the same, even in warm environments. I mean, I've been in really tropical environments wearing this. This is wool, an ibex top. So really, I seem to not carry a lot of diverse gear. Again, unless I'm going into the Himalayas or something like that, and that changes the game when you get up there around 15,000 or
David actually,
feet.
David Stavers from, he was commenting, don't forget to comment guys, he asked, do you end up taking more than you need? This brings me to, if you've been watching the crew recently, when we've been working on our ski film in Himu Village, you have met a character, our good friend JD Eskelson, who's our mountain safety guy and all-round badass. He has a phrase, travel light, freeze at night, which basically refers to this idea that if you travel light, you will go faster and you will be more productive during the daytime. But if you're doing multi-day expeditions, and particularly that involve nighttime travel or work, that can end up being, you can jeopardize your mission if you haven't brought enough. So it is a constant fine battle between taking too much and then slowing you down, and then not taking enough that you end up freezing at night. So it is a very fine balance. We have, because we've been doing it for so long, we've gotten it down to a fine art. But we do sometimes take a little bit more on purpose because we've got a big crew with us and we need to manage and look after each other. So Eric often brings extra jackets for people. And
yeah, most of the stuff I bring is usually for someone else. I tend to be able to travel light at night and not freeze at night most of the time. But most people get pretty cold. One of the best ways not to freeze at night is to eat well, keep your system full of food, and keep hydrated. If your whole entire body's ecosystem and thermostat is regulated off of how much water fluid is in your system. So if you bring that fluid down, just like you would in your car, your whole system is going to go cold or overheat. So step one to all this gear we bring is keep yourself fed and watered. And
we actually will cover that in our next live, because gear can expand really quickly into food and nutrition and hydration, which can expand into some medical supplies and stuff. So we have focused just on the material things for this live, and we'll come back in our next live broadcast and talk about in more depth some of that hydration and how to keep yourself going. But yeah, as Eric said, he did bring up a good point. Depending on, we have very different biological systems. Not only are we different genders.
We have the same biological system. They just respond differently.
We'll put it that way. Yeah. So Eric can keep going when the temperature drops, whereas I will immediately feel a change in temperature. It can be like 1 or 2 degrees, and my whole system will plummet. So I need to have the right gear, and the gear that needs to kind of keep me warm. Eric can go with this top, which is a merino top, for a lot longer than I can. I can be in a full puffy jacket, and he'll be in this merino top.
It's just different regulatory systems, different metabolisms. But what happens, though, is that even though I can go like straight up into snow in this top can be soaking wet and blowing sideways, I'm still in this top. But what happens is once I stop moving, my whole key to keeping warm is to keep moving. Once I stop, then I will drop right down to where she is as far as being cold. So movement is super important for my system, because I'm burning those calories which are creating heat.
The best way to figure out how much to carry is to get out there and try it. You'll have some days where you've taken too much. You'll have some days where you didn't take enough, and that's the only way to figure out. It's the only way to figure out how your body reacts out there. you know, in a city environment, you can't tell the difference between what Eric and I kind of wear and what happens. But when you go out there and you start putting the pressures of the environment on you, you know, and how much can you carry when you're skinning up a mountain or trekking through a jungle? You'll figure that out instantly. So don't be afraid to experiment. And that's honestly like what I carry, what he carries, what you'll carry could vary by a couple of ounces.
I think I'd like to back up a little bit too.
Well, we should probably start actually. We're about 10 minutes in, so we can...
So let's talk about
I was thinking of going from like
people. But let's talk about people going out there.
Okay.
Some of you might have experience, some of you might not. I think the best thing to do when you go out there is really do overpack a little bit. We tend to keep things tight and keep things minimal, but that's because we have experience, we have backup plans. So I don't want to advocate anybody going out there and cowboying it. You're gonna get into trouble. We get into trouble all the time, and we have a lot of time in the backcountry. Make sure you go online and Google 10 essentials for going out in the backcountry. Take those things. That's super important.
There's a lot of books actually. I'm reading one at the moment. You know, there's so much reading out there. I'm reading one now on backcountry skiing. And the first like chapter of the book is just on gear. So there's no way our 1 hour broadcast, and this is for one sport. So please keep in mind that what we touch here are going to be like basics to get you inspired and get some ideas thinking. But you can go into this in detail, and you probably should, particularly if you're doing something.
Yeah, this is a cool book. Backcountry skiing. Martin Vulcan actually gave this to us as a gift when we stopped by his shop in Bend, Washington.
Yeah, and just changing the sports can change it dramatically. I mean, we are very experienced in the backcountry, but you put, you know, not as much when it comes to doing this very specific type of skiing. It's a whole different gear set and a different knowledge base. So always read, always educate.
Yeah, be careful out there, and you know, we're going to give you some. This is mostly kind of a show and tell of what we take. I'm not suggesting you take these particular things. For instance, I don't know why you would ever take a machete out into the backcountry.
Unless you're in Belize.
Unless you do it, we're doing. But it gives you an idea that the overall premise, be prepared, know where you're going, know how long you're going to be out there, and then have a backup plan and have safety with you. So probably start with our feet, because we find the most important thing to take care of in the backcountry is our feet. Everything else can be working well. If your feet aren't working well, then you're not doing much of anything, and it will you'll be holy crap. Debilitated very quickly if your feet go wrong.
Please go to, I'm just about to find the episode number, but there's an episode in the Belize playlist called Jungle Rot. That's a good indication of what happens to your feet when you've been walking in wet mud for hours, about 38 miles or something.
Yeah.
So do you want to show them the liners?
So let's start with the feet altogether. When you go out there, whether it's just a few hours hike, a day hike, or multi-day, if you're going out to film something, take some pictures, you know, make sure you have a backup pair of dry socks. And what we take for socks, I usually put a thing on my some stuff on my feet, which we'll get into medical stuff in another one of these. But I put stuff called Hydropel. It's a hydrophobic cream I put on my feet. It keeps the water from penetrating my skin. When water penetrates your skin, it softens it up, and then it gives access to bacteria, and it starts tearing apart. But once I put that cream on, then I also put on, these are kind of some Grungio liners, but they're super thin, as you can see, super thin liners, almost like nylons. A little stronger than that.
This can be merino wool or a technical fabric like Cool Max or I can't remember the name of the other one.
And then these go over the top of those go what you would consider your normal padded socks.
We go for merino wool. Wool socks. Wool used to have this kind of like grandma, grandpa kind of feel like itchy wool. That's changed dramatically now in the modern kind of the last couple of years. Merino wool is... honestly, it's the go-to fabric.
That's what this is here. That's what those are.
So this is a slightly thicker merino wool. It's not itchy. It doesn't scratch you. It feels really nice. Padded toe and heel, and it goes over the liner.
Yeah, and what I find is I'll wear, for me, even though I'm wearing wool socks, and these go inside, I'll usually tend towards a synthetic for the inside sock, because the synthetic won't wear as fast as a wool sock. So what you have is you have your synthetic sock is doing all this inside, and that's keeping your foot from getting that kind of wear. And
also helps with blisters as well.
Yeah.
They're doing the tooth sock system. Wool also is one of the few fabrics that will keep you warm and insulated even when wet. You don't want to stay in wet socks for too long, but particularly if you're starting to perspire and get sweat, or you are getting wet from just rain or whatever, the wool will keep you warmer longer than a synthetic or a cotton.
So we'll wear that 2-layer sock with our feet treated, and then if we start to get some jungle rot, we'll treat that, and we'll talk about that later. But we'll put those inside the particular types of shoes. If we're going to be up in really rugged mountain regions, and I mean like mountaineering, then I'll wear a boot. But you have to get me you got to get me up to some really, really rugged rock, or up around 18,000 feet or more, or on some mixed snow and ice before I put a boot on. I will literally rock up in a shoe like this.
This is the women's version.
And I will wear this shoe anywhere in the world except for mountaineering, where I'm going to need to use a crampon. So that's because I have a really good layering system for my feet. I have a backup system for my feet. And I take a shoe. This particular shoe has a membrane in it. It's not Gore-Tex. I have another pair that has a Gore-Tex membrane. I only wear those particular shoes when I'm going to be in areas that aren't going to get really wet. So when I go into a jungle region, I'll change this. It'll still be a shoe, but I'll change it out for one that's more porous so that the water can get in and out. If you go into watery regions, you're working rivers, lakes, or coastlines, a membrane.
It seems counterintuitive, but you don't want a full waterproof shoe
when you're in water.
Because if you're going to submerge the shoe into water, obviously all the water's just going to come straight in where your ankle goes. And then you've now basically, because you've got a waterproof coating, the water can't get then back out from inside the shoe, and so you end up walking in a swimming pool.
And that's where things start to grow.
Yeah. So what you want is the waterproof shoe's great if you're kind of going to be going on some little bit of snow, or a little bit of kind of water, a bit of mist, not a lot of rain or a huge amount of water work. So yeah, things you can look out for a shoe is a little gator trap, which I think yours has as well. Gators are great because they keep stones and things from going in here into your shoe.
I think it's got a gator lock on the front here as well.
This particular shoe by Altra has a stone guard, which is in here, which means that if you're running over rocks and you're doing a lot of rock work, it won't penetrate through the soft shoe. A big toe box.
By the way, we haven't been paid to show you any of this gear.
This is our gear.
This is just literally what we wear.
We also wear Solomon shoes, for example. But this is the Altra is one of the shoes we like as well. A big toe box. Your feet, your body will swell when you're doing work, even out in the cold, in the winter. So you'll find that rings will get real tight on your fingers. Your feet will swell up, and so anything that allows you a little more room is useful.
Yeah. So working up from our feet, what we wear on our legs. That depends a lot on the person and what they want to wear. I have a pair of, they're kind of a mid-layer tight with a wind stopper layer in the front of them. Very flexible. It's a tight. I pretty much wear that everywhere.
You can see them in the crew episodes, honestly.
Every episode.
Pretty much he's in them. I think they're an Arc'teryx pair of pants.
Yeah, and that's what I wear. Until, again, I get up into some mountaineering situations where I'll throw on a pair of Gore-Tex bibs or pants. But other than that's what I wear. In the desert, I might change out to a light pant once in a while. But
you'll see us covered up a lot, even in hot environments.
That's a good point.
Save sunscreen. Sunburn is super, super painful. As an Australian, I speak from that very personally. And not good for you. So even it seems counterintuitive that if you're working in hot environments or you're going for a hike on a beautiful day, take a lightweight shirt, a light sleeve, that will cover your whole arm, because it's a simple way to kind of get sun protection really quickly.
Yeah, I think we definitely cover up all the time with our clothing. But then again, we also wear pretty light stuff like this that breathes real nice. So that's what I do as a pant layer, and you generally have 2 or 3 layers.
I have a pant layer. I'm a big one for, you see a lot of women exercising in tights. I mean, because of the nature of our work, I need pockets. So I end up going for something like these. Pockets in them. I don't wear these out in the field, but I have something similar that has pockets in them again. So.
Yeah. The kind of work we do, we're always searching for pockets. Most of my pockets I utilize up in my upper chest region.
Lens caps, batteries, lens wipes,
chapstick, sunnies, because you can't film through these things.
So.
Then moving up from there, I guess underwear layer. Again, we go to the merino wool, and that's what we wear. One of the nice things about the merino layers is they don't retain stench or stink, so you can wear the same merino for quite a long time, and then you can just wash it out in the stream and put it back on. So I just wear merino for my underwear layer.
Yeah. So some synthetic fabrics. Again, this is super personal, but just something for you to think about.
Yeah.
Now moving up onto the top of your body. We've heard us talk about wool a lot. The next, we like natural fibers. That's the thing that's going to save you out there. Wool obviously is natural. The other natural fiber is down. It could be goose or duck feathers, and they loft them. It's very similar to a pillow. I don't know if you have one of those old pillows full of duck feathers. But they fluff them up here, so what happens is they trap air between them. They're all kind of loosely fluffed, and it's the air, the hot air, that will keep you warm, not the feather itself. So what happens is if you put this jacket on and then squish it down with an outside layer, it won't do its job. This is designed to fluff up. That's why they get their nickname puffy jacket. So it's designed to trap air inside of the little cells. The whole jacket's made up of cells. And it's designed to trap air in there and then air between you and the jacket, and that's how it functions. And it's one of the warmest insulators out there.
Yeah. So, again, for me, I'll wear this and probably go straight to one of these if I need to be warm, or I will just wear a Gore-Tex shell layer on.
It's also super light.
Yeah, they pack up real light.
And they do scrunch up real tight and real small. They often have a cover little bag that they can squish up with. So you can get a lot of warmth for not a lot of weight and a lot of space.
One of the things I'll touch on is a lot of this clothing is extremely expensive. Even the socks are like $15 or something like that. What I've done over the years is buy one little piece of something and then a month or two later another piece of something over time, and just start accumulating it as you accumulate your skills. Your skill set, if you're new to going out in the backcountry and filming or taking photos or whatever experience you're having, your skill set should not be superseded by what you're wearing. Wearing all the coolest, best gear is not going to make your skill set any better. You're going to just die in expensive gear. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, absolutely. Think about what you're doing, and don't be afraid to wear secondhand gear. I mean, this stuff is designed to last. It's designed to go out into rigorous environments.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of which, I wear stuff until it literally is falling off me. I kid you not.
I'll have to find the Irish episode. I'll post it for you. Do you want to talk about colours?
Oh, yes. Where is my orange jacket?
I think you've seen it in every episode. But...
So you see in all the episodes, you see I have orange jackets. I think I have 3 or 4 orange jackets, some yellow ones. And there's a reason I picked those colors. A lot of people are picking stuff because they some earthy tones. They want to look good. They want to blend in and stylish. And for me, I want to stand out like a floral beacon. And the reason is because I want them to be able to recover my dead body from somewhere. And they're not going to see me if I'm sitting there in some brown or black or blue jacket. Now, the dead body part is a bit of a joke. I don't really care if they recover it at that point. I'm obviously dead. But I want to be recovered if I'm in an emergency situation, if somebody's looking for me in rocks or snow or floating in a river or somewhere.
Yeah, you're not going out there with the military trying to hide and sniper on someone. If you are, this is not the podcast for you.
You want to be seen.
Yeah, you want to be seen. You want your partners to be seen. You want to look out, if you're going out in a group, which you should probably go out in a group. I don't think there's any reason for anyone to go out in the backcountry on their own. So you need to be able to see, like if you are trying to find a person, if it's something horrific like digging them out of an avalanche or looking for them in avalanche debris, these are the colors that you're going to see.
Yeah, and
maybe not white.
And one of my favorite things, besides the safety issue and people being able to locate me if I'm in a situation, I also like to, if I'm standing in somebody's frame, to show up very orange so they know that I'm there and they can move their camera.
There is probably an argument for us having some form of camouflage, because it is very annoying when Eric shows up in a giant orange jacket in my shot.
I usually wave.
Yeah.
Hello, your camera's in the wrong position. You should move it.
So don't worry about the undergarments being too bright. It's rare that you'll be trekking or moving in those. But hey, if you've got an option to get bright coloured stuff, we do. But definitely the outer layers. Speaking of outer layers, this is the final layer.
Yeah, the shell layer. In picking a shell layer, I think really just some sort of either Gore-Tex or some sort of membrane layer that it lets the water shed well, and it has a hood on it. I think a hood you have to have on every shell layer.
We prefer hoods that are built into the. See how it's hard for me to tell the difference between the hood and the jacket? It's one piece of fabric. You don't want some sort of a detachable hood, because that's where water's going to come in. If you're putting a jacket on, it's all very well having a waterproof jacket, but if you got water coming straight down in here. So make sure that the hood's made with the same fabric and come right up and around your head.
And I think if you're going to spend money anywhere, I think it's on the shell layer, because it's versatile. I mean, my shell layer, I do wear it as a, I guess, rain jacket or to keep the wind break from chilling my body, but I also will use it as ground cover to sleep in, or a ground cover to arrange my gear in, or I will use it to glissade down the side of snow mountains, etc., etc.
We don't buy them so you can get jackets, like Gore-Tex jackets with some insulation. We just go for the light shell. You can actually get lighter than this again. This is an old jacket. There's newer technology out there that's lighter again, because we go for the layering system. If he's working in hot Belize and it's raining, he can put this on and not overheat. But if it's really hot, we can now put this underneath. But imagine if that was stuck as the one jacket. Then you've got a one-purpose jacket. So we want our gear to be able to move.
And always bring your shell with you. Never leave your shell at home. Even if you're in the super hot desert, don't leave your shell at home. Here's a good example of why. I was in the desert region of China at night or at dusk. Why would you need your shell? It's hot, you're sweating, it's perfect blue sky, etc., etc. There's no wind. Why do you need your shell even out there? Well, turns out I needed my shell because the bugs came on in the millions, and there were 4 or 5 different biting bugs, etc. Boom, shell on, covered up, put my mask on, etc., and I'm protected from the bugs. Did I anticipate that? No. But what I'm saying is that every time I've been in an environment, I've needed my shell for something. That just happened to be the most unusual one.
Yeah. Remember also, you're a microenvironment yourself. So even if it might be super hot outside, and if you're trekking through the desert or something, you could be dehydrating, you could be loss of food, you could be fatigued, and then your system is going to get cold. So even though it's hot outside, you can be freezing. And again, if you want that jacket on, then you've brought it with you. So just because it's hot doesn't mean you're going to be hot.
See, a few other things we wear is for your head cover. I always have a baseball hat with me. It helps again with keeping the sun off. And then I usually have some kind of beanie that I wear. Keeps my ears warm and my head warm. I know a lot of people think, oh, wear a hat and because most of your heat is lost through your head. That's not true. Your heat is equally lost through most of your body. Matter of fact, there are other areas of your body where you lose more heat. Doesn't mean don't cover it up. Cover up your head.
A large surface area when you think about it, though. It is a sphere. It's not like just your forehead or the top of your head. If you were to flatten it out, there's a lot of surface area here that you need to look after. So if you don't think about it, it's one of those things that can instantly be a problem.
Another great reason to bring a beanie is because when you put a beanie on and you put it on your head and you got it, here, how you normally wear it, as soon as you decide you're going to go to sleep in the middle of the daytime out in the bush, you just pull it right over your eyes. You can sleep in it. It also helps you regulate your heat at night. You can stay a lot warmer if you sleep in your beanie. You can also carry lenses in it and put it in your in your pocket. There's 1,000 different uses for everything you bring, and just get innovative. How can I use this 5 other ways so it really warrants the weight of taking it?
So we're going to move on to some specialty gear now. That basic system we've done up till now should get you out and operating. These are a few bits and pieces that we just thought might be interesting. You guys might enjoy some of the stuff that we take out.
So we've kept talking about, you know, staying dry and taking care of yourself and bringing dry socks and also your camera equipment or whatever you have. One of the things that we bring along are dry bags. Test out your dry bag before you leave. Put some toilet paper in your dry bag.
This is how it works. Put your stuff in there.
Put it in there. So this is socks right now, and this is how we normally do it. But toilet paper in here. I'll show you how to do this in a minute. Close it up. Put it in the water, and make sure it doesn't leak before you bring it. We always have somebody bring in a dry bag that has holes in it. Obviously, that defeats the purpose. So,
holes that you can't see.
Yeah, these are tiny micro holes. So if it's a good dry bag, you've tested it. Put your stuff in. Close.
Squeeze the air out.
Yeah, get the air out of it. Take it, fold it over a few times on its wrap, pull it around. I mean, you can figure out how to use that, but then this is the dry bag, and then it can clip into somewhere, stash in. And this is how we keep all of our stuff inside our pack dry, except there'll be a lot of stuff in your pack that might not be able to be kept dry because you need access to it, etc. So when I have to jump into a river and cross it, or if I have to swim part of a coastline, I always have a bigger dry bag in my backpack so that I can take my backpack or everything else and stash it in here, get everything dry. And this one, I won't get the air out of. This one, I'll keep the air in because I'm using this for a water crossing, right? And so I have some of my gear in here, or my entire backpack. I let it keep the air in, and now I can sit on it, or not sit on it, but put it under my chest, and it becomes a flotation device as I cross a river or cross a coastline or a lake. Now I have something that keeps me buoyant and allows me to conserve energy as I move through the water.
So that comes back to kind of keeping like multiple options for your stuff. You know, we talked about beanies being protectors for your lenses when you're not using them, and dry bags becoming flotation devices. So that's the other way that you can save weight, is if you can
multi-purpose. Yeah, it's good stuff.
Jackets, multi-purpose jackets. Don't get a jacket that's stuck with insulation.
Let's see, what else kind of fun things? Since we're floating in water, another thing that we often will bring when we're into water situations is a throw bag.
In fact, some places we go, they won't let you out on, like if you're going through like an event, like we film a lot of adventure races, so there's an organization out there, they won't let you on the water without a throw rope.
So this throw bag is a type, I won't show you how to use it, but essentially you retain this end of it and you throw this part as the rope uncoils as it goes out, slaps in front of the person who needs help in the water. They grab a hold of the rope in the bag and whatever, and you drag them back in and pull them to shore. We carry these when we're in situations where we're going to be doing some...
Again, multi-purpose on this one. I think you've rappelled using that.
Yeah. So
which is, don't go out using that as your rappel rope.
It's a bad idea.
But, again, if you're kind of creative and adaptive in your mindset, you can get out of trouble.
Yeah, I think we're up in British Columbia, I think up near Kicking Horse area in British Columbia. And we were cliffed out. We had our throw bag with us, so we used it to do a makeshift rappel down the cliff and get out of the region. Again.
But if you are going to rappel,
yeah,
please come prepared.
Yeah, I think it, again, you wouldn't normally bring climbing gear with you unless you're skilled at using it and going to a region where you need it, but we often bring climbing gear with us. It seems to be something that every now and then it comes in handy, but then you need the rope and the skills. But we'll often carry that on location with us for what we do. Again, keeping alive in the water. You'll see me in several of the,
Yeah, actually, I'll post an episode now where you can see Eric wearing this.
This is a PFD, personal flotation device. I take this with me all the time because we're often heading out into regions where I got to cross, again, rivers or I get deployed on some kind of rescue for someone else. And if you ever go on the water of any kind, have one of these, and you can get some pretty lightweight ones, some pretty easy ones. This one's old. This one is probably considered an antique, but I love it. And I still rock it, and it's still good.
This brings on to our next kind of point, which is knives. And but you want to talk about a river knife, and then we can move on to machetes.
Yeah, I was just going to point out that I carry a river knife on this one. I have places to stow stuff. In the back, I've had sewn on a sheath that my water bladder goes in, so I can have my water available. And I have reflective tape on here. I've got a strobe, so I can use this for kayaking and crossing rivers, going down pack rafting. But what I also use it for is generally to anytime I'm going to be near or over a body of water. If I'm on a boat, you know, even though I'm on a boat, I want to be able to, you know, be buoyant if I fall in. You never, in a lot of these countries, you never know how good the skills of whoever is transporting you on a boat. So we'll put these on and always have those with us as we move. You want to talk about?
Well, we talked a little bit about knives. We've got a plethora of knives and things we carry with us. This is probably our highest level weapon.
Knife.
Tool.
Highest level tool.
It looks like a weapon. This is a machete. It was actually this particular one was given to me by Eric. We have a lot of them. We have a lot of them in this office.
There's
actually, you used to have an axe.
5
up there.
or 6 of them in the office. Yeah, and the axe is under the seat of the truck right now because we just brought it to Wyoming.
But we use this in Belize. I'll post a link to the Belize episode where you can see us using this. The route was impassable, and so we hacked for hours through the jungle to clear a path so that we could move through with these. So again, a specific tool, but a tool that when you don't have it can be very... well, I don't know if we would have moved very fast, if at all.
You'd be surprised how fast you can move through dense bush with a machete. That and knowing how to move through it. Not going to show you how to use it, but I always suggest...
I have a link to another video of how to use one.
We have a video on how to use one, don't we?
Yeah, so why don't we save that for that video?
But keep a little lanyard on there so you don't hurt yourself.
So we carry everything from like this level machete or tool, knife, all the way down to something really small like this SOG knife. Which be careful that you don't put that in your carry-on because an airplane will take that.
Yeah, I'd show you my favorite knife. My SA7, except for I no longer have it. The Chinese government took it from me. I'm really still disappointed.
If traveling overseas with knives, please pay attention to what's going on because you can get them taken off you. They have different rules. The only reason the one on Eric's the life jacket, the river knife, got saved was because it was considered a tool. We consider them all tools. But as I kind of jokingly said before, some countries will consider this a weapon. Because they use it as a weapon over there. They'll have massacres that are all instigated by machetes, and now our tool is a weapon. Yes. So that's unfortunate. So please keep that in mind, and don't go out and get these just for fun. We do use these. I wanted to talk about on your hands as far as gloves. Most of the time we operate with a really thin glove liner. And then we would take that liner, keep it on, upgrade it to another glove such as this. It has a little bit of insulative value to it, and then we'll have a shell that goes over that. So we'll very much keep the glove system layered as you would keep the clothing system layered. And that way you can, again, go from hot to cold pretty quickly and don't have to take your entire glove off. I don't think we've ever been in an instance where we've had any frostbite or dealt with anything like that. We're going to take a quick pause because we've got a few questions coming in. Just a reminder, please ask us questions. So we've got Bart Redding. Hello, Bart. Welcome. He says, do you fly or carry a drone over the river? Excellent question. If we're doing a river crossing, we will carry it, and I will send you a link to our drone pilot, Larkin Carey, carrying his personalized drone across the river in Alaska. I'll put that up in just a sec. No, I don't. We don't fly it over for transport reasons. No, yeah. I think he means fly over the top of the river? I mean, we will for video, if we want to film the river, yes.
But for transport?
But for transport,
no, we'll carry it.
Put it on the backpacks.
Yeah, I think we've dismantled, in Alaska, we dismantled the drone into 3 pieces. I think I carried a big section. I think I carried the main fuselage. Larkin carried the transmitter pieces. And then somebody else carried the camera. So we'll break it down like that. But you know, you want to be careful where you're crossing with that thing. In this particular episode where we crossed the river with the drone, probably could have found a better spot to cross, but at the time
that has another story behind
it.
That was
the best one.
There's another question here.
I crossed the damn thing fine.
I'll get you that link, Bart, so that you can actually see us doing that. I'll put that up in just a sec. While I'm getting that, Denise T, hello, welcome. Could you two survive naked and afraid?
Yes.
No. Mostly because I have no desire to wander around naked.
She didn't ask if you had a desire. Could you survive it?
Oh, well, if it wasn't for a TV show...
Why don't you want to wander around naked? What's wrong with that? I'd wander around naked.
No,
it's no problem.
You know, when he was talking about the bugs earlier.
Anna would survive it.
See, girls have to, when they go to the bathroom in the wilds, have to pull their pants all the way down to go to the toilet. So when we had this mosquito infestation that Eric was talking about, I got bit everywhere. And this has happened twice. It's happened in China, it's happened in Ireland. So the idea of being completely naked
I think we just went TMI there.
It's really, really... Well, you asked if you want to do Naked Afraid. I'm telling you why I don't want to go and do Naked Afraid. Now, if I found myself naked in the wilds, I'd find a way to survive. But I wouldn't go on the TV show.
I would do Naked and Afraid. I think I would get bored, though. I don't think those survival situations are that intense or that difficult. I think the TV show might make it difficult for those people. But if you just let me wander around naked, I probably wouldn't be afraid. I might get hungry and a rash.
Anyway,
few other things
you can take D. Actually, you can, Denise, but there's only so much you can do. I can't.
I don't think they allow you to take anything. In those shows.
Oh, in those shows? I don't know about in that show. But if you're talking about just the work that we do, yeah, I probably should have sprayed my whole...
Oh, man.
So I'm just going to post that link for you, but...
A lot of the places we head out to, there are seldom trails or marked routes, or you kind of got to figure out where you're going. And even if there are trails, there's maybe a trail network with game trails, you don't know where you're going. One of the most important things you need to do when you're out doing what we're doing is learn how to read a map. A map will help you literally on the road to get where you're going when you're driving, right down to bashing through the bush figuring out where you're going. This is a compass. This is my compass that I take. It's an old school compass, still works. This thing, I see a lot of people taking a compass, and I ask them why they have it, and they say so that they can, do what they're doing, figure out where they're going or something like that. And then, and I realize they have no idea how to use it because they have a compass and they have no map. They have anything. Now, compass is great if you literally actually know where you are at that point, and then you can keep following your compass in a general bearing. So learn how to use a compass and learn how to use a map. And it is a little bit difficult to learn, but once you get it, it works pretty well. Become very proficient at it. I have saved myself. I've saved us. We've had a lot of situations we've gotten out of because we can read a map and utilize a compass. It's super important.
We've got a question here from Jekoveco. Excuse me if I pronounced that wrong. What is your end goal, or do you just want to travel the world and hike until you've been everywhere? Well, Jeko, I don't know if you're new to the crew. Welcome if you are. But we are adventure filmmakers. Our end goal is to make amazing films and sell them and show them to the world for various clients that employ us. We travel the world to do that. So our end goal is to make the films, and the travel and the survival and the adventure is part of our job, really. So we are unlike other travel vloggers in that we don't just go out to travel and see the world. It's a fantastic part of our job that we're very fortunate to have, that we get to do it while doing our actual job. And that's why we share it with you guys, because we're having these amazing experiences and we're going to places where you can't normally go. And so we want to bring you guys there.
Yeah, traveling is a fortunate byproduct of what we do. End goal for us, as far as what we do, I think we just want to make bigger, as in, you know, bigger, wider distributed films. We want to make diverse films, not always about adventure stuff. We like telling stories, and we just want to continue telling stories. We're very good at it. We like to do it, and people seem to like to hear the stories, and we tell them through film.
Bart Rating's got another question for us. He says, I never see time lapses or hyperlapses in your films. Is there anything you guys would experiment with? We do. They are in our films. They're probably not in the crew that much. That's, I don't know why.
Usually the primary content has the hyperlapses or the time lapses.
Yeah, so they are in there. I know that you guys have often asked us, how can we see the films that you guys make? There's a complicated answer to that basically means it depends on the client and what they've hired for.
And what country they're being distributed in.
Yeah, so we've had stuff, like the ski film's gone out all over TV around the world.
I think it's almost, the ski film that we made, you'll see back in the China ski episodes of The Crew, I think it's coming up on 1 billion people seeing that film.
Yeah.
But you haven't seen it. And you've probably never heard of it. Because that's 1 billion people not in North America. Yeah.
So we do use them. It's probably a good note, actually, Bart, which I should probably put some more time lapses in The Crew. But we're actually teaming up with, on one project we're developing coming up now called the Batu Project, which is going to be in Nepal, and it's focusing on the first generation of Nepali mountain guides, or sometimes colloquially known as female mountain guides, colloquially known as Sherpas, although not from the Sherpa family. And we're teaming up with a fantastic time-lapse and hyperlapse photographer and photography team. So it is a sub-specialty of filmmaking. If you jump onto our Instagram and the Batu Film Instagram, you can start to see some of those hyperlapses.
Yeah, we tend not to do those ourselves. We do know how to do them, but it's like anything else. If you want it done really well, you let someone else do it who specializes in it. So yeah, we do them. They show up in our film.
If you try and look out for the Night Skies Photography, is the group on Instagram.
Yeah, we could probably write in some stuff about Batu and stuff. And
yeah, I'll see if I can find some links.
Let's see, I was thinking of something else. Oh, one of the other pieces of gear that I like to bring is a water bottle. And now we operate with water bladders all the time. We have the hose that come around and you can drink out of. But I always bring a water bottle with me as well. And that is because it's got an open mouth. I can fill it pretty quickly with water, but also it won't freeze as fast as that hose. That tube from a water bladder in cold environments will freeze solid, and you can't, and then all of a sudden you're going to dehydrate because you can't get to your water. So I always have one of these in cold environments. Another bonus for having this in a cold environment is that at night when you boil your water, boil the snow down to create water. It's nice and warm and hot just coming off of the stove, and you put that down into your sleeping bag to keep you warm at night. And bring 2 of them, and the other one have it really labeled well, and you can pee in the other one. So you don't have to get out of your bag and out of your tent and out in the snow to pee. You just pee in your bottle, and then you can wrap that up, and that can keep you warm as well if you sleep with your pee. Now, you may think, oh, easy for guys to do. Well, I'll tell you that Alyssa, one of our producers in China on the Yuzu Peak project,
which are episodes that are about to come up. I've got an episode coming out this week in Beijing, and then we go over to this project in Yuzu Peak, which is what Eric's talking about.
And Alyssa proved that a woman can also pee in an open mouth bottle in her sleeping bag in the tent without going outside. So it can be done, and it saves you a lot of time and effort and from freezing your butt off at 20,000 feet.
And I got in trouble for too much information on the mosquito bites.
Well, that was about Alyssa, not me.
Sorry, Alyssa. Question from Denise T. Have either of you taken survival classes?
Yes.
You have?
I've taken survival classes. I've taken outdoor first aid, swiftwater rescue, and then I've taken a lot of, I guess not like survival. It's more like
I'm trying to think
skills,
about it. Like I did the Duke of Edinburgh's program in Australia or anyone in a Commonwealth country will know what that is. And they teach a lot of that stuff as well. It's not like, you know, avalanche safety level, but, you know, we did map reading, we learned to read a compass, we learned how to, what foods, at least in Australia, that you can eat in the wilds. We learned about, you know, gear, we went through all the gear stuff, we learned about how to cross, you know, navigate through terrain, but, you know, that was very Australian-centric.
I think what you'll find that around the world, a lot of what we're first world, you know, Westerners, most of us are first world people. We take survival classes and we take classes on what to eat in the wild, and we do all these things. We have Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, all these sorts of things. And those are great. I like them. I've never taken any of those. I've never done any of those because the rest of the world, kind of like how I lived, is very, very poor. I was very poor when I was young, and the rest of the world is very poor. And what happens is your survival skills are developed as you exist and live. When I was a very young kid, we learned how to forage for food on the beach, finding oysters and snails and stuff for food. We how to catch little crabs. We learned what berries to eat. We learned what roots to dig up and eat. And that was purely so we can literally eat. We learned how to fish. As I got older and we got a little bit of money, then I was able to go to a used bookstore and I bought a Boy Scout handbook. I bought a book on the SAS, or the British Special Forces Survival Handbook. I bought a Mountaineers book, and I went through those and I taught myself absolutely everything out of those books. And I've taught myself everything: mountaineering, climbing, survival skills. So that being said, to the question, have I ever taken any classes? I have taken a few, but most of it is self-taught, or literally I learned through life as a necessity. I think if you don't have those opportunities, which, you know, hopefully you don't have to, you go out and take some classes and you can learn a lot, but you still have to go practice it. You still have to go practice it. No matter how much you learn in a class, if you don't actually go out and try to identify that correct thing to eat or how to build a fire that particular way, you're not going to be any good at it.
Well, that goes for anything. Yeah. I mean, I know immediately while I was practicing, I used to play the piano, and you practice, and then you get in front of a stage audience, and then, whoa, suddenly you forgot everything. So, and the only way to cure that is practice.
Yeah, one last thing on that. I was up in the Kootenays of British Columbia, and I was up there with a gal, a few of us, and we'd been going for like 3 days straight, no sleep. We were running out of food, and we were freezing to death up in the mountains. And she goes, "Oh, I'm going to build the fire. I'll build a fire." So we're going to build a small fire. And I sat there watching her try to build this fire and trying to build it. She's running through the few matches we had, and it was really, and I was getting concerned. And it dawned on me. She knew how to build a fire, you could tell. She'd never actually done it before. And I was like, all right, you need to give this to me now, because we were down to one match. So I started the fire with this one last match we had. And after she'd gone through several, so practice this stuff, and do it when you have to do it.
We do stress test training in Krav, because you'll never have a fight when you're fresh. So what's it going to feel like when you're exhausted? So we actually train that stuff. So train it. Now, we're about maybe 5 minutes out from finishing. So we're going to start to wrap up here. I just wanted to give a shout out to Colin the Marines. He says he has got a question for us, but he also asked if we can donate in some way to help you get to different places to film. We really appreciate that, guys. I think I've had a question about that last time. Thank you. Honestly, we, obviously we'll greatly appreciate that and put that to good use and improve the vlogs and get you guys to more places. So Bart Redding chimed in and said you can do that through this chat. If you ever need to get in contact with us outside of the chat, because I lose the chat when the live goes down, you can email us at oneeyeopenproductions@gmail.com. So thank you. And Colin, to answer your question, how do you keep trim and in shape to deal with different terrains and landscapes?
I don't keep trim. I don't think I look that trim. I keep in pretty decent shape. I don't try to go for the six pack, that the in shape body, because that type of body doesn't do very well out there very long. I have a lot of resources attached to me that I can rely upon as soon as I get cold or hungry. and I usually outlast everybody out there.
Yep.
You get too skinny and too trim, and you freeze to death.
Okay, well.
Viv is in great shape, and she's very strong. We've powered up some massive mountains, and she's been right there behind me. But one of the things that she does suffer from is she doesn't have a lot of resources in her body to rely on when we get into a situation where, you know, she has to eat all the time. Keep warm.
Super fast metabolism. And Helena Boyd's actually chimed in, and she said, now's not the time for modesty, Eric.
Was I being modest?
Helena Boyd, if you guys, we've worked with Helena and we're working with her on this next project that I referenced earlier on. Amazing snowboarder, super, super fun to hang out with. Thanks for watching, Helena. You guys can check out some of her snowboarding and who she is on the crew episodes that have just come out. So go to the China playlist, the winter ones, the most recent ones, and you may have already met Helena if you've been watching the vlogs. So, hello.
I didn't get her joke, but that's all right. Maybe I'm not supposed to.
So we are, as we said, we're about to wrap up. If you have any last questions, please fire them at us right now, because we're going to tune off in about 4 minutes. And I think we've covered everything.
Well, I had a couple more things I wanted to cover.
Oh.
We kind of went through all the gear that not all the gear, but a lot of the interesting pieces of gear that we utilize. One of them is when we go out there and we need to we're in a situation where we need to bed down. Viv and I have had to bed down in some really interesting places. And
you mean like just on the ground?
Yeah, in the dirt, in the Sierra Nevadas.
In the Belize jungle.
On
a trail in Alaska.
Yeah, pretty much these really strange places. And what the main thing that you have is the issue of being cold. And so we tend to sleep in all of our clothes, put all of our clothes on, but you also want to develop some kind of layer, again, like the loft in a jacket. And we will often bring a layer that keeps the moisture. The moisture will collect at night, even in the hot regions. We'll bring just this tiny little bivy sack. Sorry, in hot and cold regions. You always get moisture accumulating. This will keep the moisture off us. It'll provide a little tiny layer for warmth, but the biggest thing it does is it keeps the bugs out. This is an entire giant cocoon that comes out of here. It's super lightweight. And this,
I think I have a video for this. I'll post the link up.
And this is a breathable mesh, so we'll be completely encapsulated in the bush, and we'll be able to be just fine. We don't take a tent. This is what we take. And
I can't remember what
we just put it right on over our clothes as we operate out there and we need to go down.
Helena's just saying that you should just own the fact that you're strong rather than try to say that you don't keep trim. By the way.
Well, I appreciate that. That's a nice compliment. But yeah, I am a bigger guy, so I do have a lot of just inherent strength and stamina. But I think trying to keep trim and go after that beach kind of physique, I don't find it terribly useful out there. Most of those guys, when I've been out there with those kind of guys and gals, they're strong, they're great athletes. They're excellent athletes. But when it comes to, you're 10 days in.
Well, you've often said you're a Clydesdale. You can just keep going and going and going.
Yeah, when you're 10 days in, you got to feed those machines. Those people who look like that, I think it's awesome. I'd like to look like that. But they're machines, and those machines are like high-performance engines. They got to feed them. They got to keep them going. And so for me, I just tend to keep like Viv's saying, a Clydesdale physical endurance.
I go for fast speed. I'm a sprinter. I mean, honestly, it was what I did at high school. But now I've had to learn how to not only physically translate into long distance stuff, but mentally. I get halfway through a trek and I'm like, all right, home time.
And speaking of training and keeping fit and stuff, one of the things I like to do is keep it fun and keep it interesting. The other day, we were training over on a rock hill. And one of the things I was doing for fun is I took my daughter, who's about
my size,
220 some pounds, and I slung her over my shoulders, and I was training by carrying her up there. And like, why are you doing that? Well, because someday I might have to actually carry her up out of somewhere on my shoulders and get somebody else up out of there. So I like to train realistic situations. That makes it fun. Otherwise, training's quite boring.
Another one of our production partners, Callie, has chimed in and said,
Hey, Callie.
Hey, Callie, great topics that we're discussing. Thanks for chiming in. So I'm sorry you've just caught us just at the end. We're going to wrap up now.
Hey, just so, full disclosure here. I'd keep talking with you and explaining gear and talking about how to do these things, except for somebody is really in a hurry to get to a flight to Paris. So she's got to jump a flight to Paris here soon, so we do have to jump off. But not all of us have to do that. But, yeah, some of us are staying behind.
I'm going to a World War One centenary not celebration. What do you call it? Memorial.
Celebration at this point.
Well, anyway, of my great grandfather's battle, and he won a medal in this battle in World War One in Belgium. So I'm going over. A lot of my family are going over, so I'm going to go over and meet them.
So I gotta fly Viv to. I almost said Paris, but the airport.
The airport.
I stopped just there.
Yeah, so it'll be nice. So that'll be cool to see family and some family history.
So I think that the next Friday we get together, we'll announce as we did this time.
It might not be next Friday. It might be, unless you want to do a live. I can do a live. You can do a live from here.
Oh yeah, we could do like a.
Stay tuned for what we do.
We'll cook something up interesting.
We have to announce our winner. I don't think he's on live watching this, so I'm gonna have to message them otherwise. But Matt Ward from the UK, or at least you were in the UK last time you chatted with us. You have won our prize from last week.
Yeah, the swag bag with a
power charger, power
bunch
cords,
of stuff in it.
So thank you, Matt, for being a great follower, and we hope that this gives you some charge for your university and adventures and all of that.
Okay.
Yes, we know people are at work, Denise. Unfortunately, we had to do it earlier because of my flight. So.
Yeah, normally we do it later in the day or the evening.
We don't do anything normally. We have done 2 Friday live on the one time.
We're getting there.
We're getting there.
This is supposed to be a regular thing every Friday. Just
we can't do regular.
Yeah, we're not regular people, I don't think. No. All right, guys. We appreciate you coming and listening to the talk about gear and what we take out there, and we will, one way or another, we'll catch up next Friday.
Yeah, stay
Maybe
tuned.
I'll monologue for an hour.
That'll be fun. So if you have any other questions, though, or you have questions if you're watching this non-live, just throw them in the comments, and we always get back to you guys. All right, have a great Friday.
All right, be safe out there.